All right. Welcome to today's session, and today I'm going to be talking about building a minimum viable community to accelerate adoption of your product. And a little bit about myself, which you may or may not already know. Co-founder of Startup Launch Code, a growth-focused agency for early-stage startups. And today's topic is really interesting. And a couple of things we'll be covering is what is a minimum viable community and why it's important for your product launch, and the seven-step formula for building a minimum viable community, and how successful startups leverage a minimum viable community to actually launch their MVP, and so much more. So, first things first, what is a minimum viable community? And according to Forbes, a minimum viable community is an early version of an online community. It typically focuses on specific problem and has a dedicated member base that discusses the topic. And so if you're thinking of at the end of the day, whatever product or you're trying to roll out into the market, there's a specific problem it's going to solve. And there are people that have the problem that it wants to solve. So while building the product, why not engage the people to refine the product in terms of helping you coming out with something more refined that people readily embrace. And this is really important. And I want to talk about the benefits of having this because at the end of the day, it's the people that that have these needs that need to be addressed that are going to like patronize you. So leading a community saves you a lot of time, a lot of resources. And if you look at it, for most startups starting out, you're paying developers to work on stuff. You have a team of people that you're paying salaries to. And imagine like spending a lot of like time, resources, and money trying to build a product, and only to find out at the end of the day that you need to make several iterations on the product. Nothing wrong with iterations, but think of the financial investment and the time spent, you know, working on that product in secret and coming out and people say, oh no, 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 this is not what we want exactly. And having to go, back to developers to, make specific changes in it. It's it could be a hassle. So minimum viable communities before you even think of building a product or while you're even thinking of building a product, you're engaging with a community that is ready or most importantly going to patronize you and kind of like drilling down more into the problem, so it saves you a lot of resource, you know whether it's time, money, and just the whole hassle of going through all of that. Just having a community just helps you get to the crust of really what you're trying to address, and most importantly getting it done. Then next is customer needs. You're, um, I mean, human wants are insatiable. It constantly evolves. You can be solving a problem right now, and things beyond your control could come up, like COVID-19. It just hits, and regardless of what you were doing or what you were building, the consumer behavior is going to just change. And um, in line with like having like that minimum viable community, a group of people that you engage in, it just gives you that heads up long before you know your product is even out. So it tends to double down on the needs because these things, it evolves. The reason why someone buys a product or engages with a product is different from the other next person. So having an understanding on what are the needs, like in previous sessions, it's a core speaking about the job that needs to be solved by Clayton Christensen. Understanding that now helps you define what exactly you need to build and what features you want to roll out with. Next is feedback. And great companies always embrace feedback. Your startup needs to embrace feedback. So you push out a product in the marketplace, and the community will definitely be giving you like real time feedback on what you need to change and even guiding you in the process. Many companies have this before it even goes live, this group of like beta testers are going to be testing the product and giving feedback on different things. And this is what having a community does for you. It just helps you make your changes very specific, granular, changes that will help to accelerate product market fit for your startup. Now, I want to talk about startups that have leveraged minimum viable community, because it's always good to look at very successful companies and what they've done, and try to like reverse engineer what you can do to give your startup that thrust in the forward direction. And one of the ones that I have here is Piggyvest. Piggyvest is no doubt one of the most successful fintech companies, I mean, in Africa and in Nigeria. And what we know it has, I mean, Piggyvest raised about 1.1 million or so. But even as a time when they were raising the money, they didn't even really need the money like that, because they just leverage community to drive scale in what they were doing. And we know the founders, Joshua Chibueze, Soto, and when and they just how did they start? I mean, there are so many other startups or products they had created before then, which were not successful. And I think Push CV was one that was really like generating a lot of like revenue for them at that point in time. And how it came was that I think in 2015, Piggyvest saw a viral tweet of someone that had saved 1,000 naira every single day in Colo, what we call like all these where people where you little boxes that you could put money in. And at the end of the day, she had broken it and showed how much she earned. Meaning, if you're saving like 1,000 naira every day, at the end of the year, it's about 365,000 naira, 366, depending on it, but definitely 365,000 naira. And that's got them thinking, and that tweet went viral. Now, we have to understand that social media in itself is a community based platform, which is geared towards helping connecting people together, and most importantly, like driving engagement. Now, this tweet went viral, meaning that it was something a lot of people could resonate with. It was definitely a problem that a lot of people could probably had at that point in time. And it got this the founders of Piggyvest thinking, why not build something that we can leverage this conversation going on social media? In other words, the community was already established. This conversation was already established, and it showed that there is need for like a product that can match that community or that engagement that is going on with the community. And the first MVP was built in like 3 days. You can imagine the urgency right after like having that conversation, and you know we need to like put something in the marketplace and begin to engage the users and all of that. And that's just the story of Piggyvest. And to thinking about that, the very first product was about in January of 2016. It went live, and you know that um, of course like engaging the marketplace and all of that. And it they really didn't even spend much on marketing. It was just leveraging that conversation on social. And by the end of 2017, they had 400 active users, and that has saved 21 million. And of course, lots of iterations going on. And I think they partnered with a bank, a commercial bank, that just like accelerated everything they were doing. And by the end of that 2018, right, they had saved 700 million. You can see the exponential leap, like in a year, like what they are able to accomplish and achieve. And right after that, in 2019, the users had saved cumulative of 4.5 billion, right? And by 2020, when COVID hit, um, it had saved like $90 billion, 19 billion naira, which roughly would be um, about some millions of dollars, basically. That's just in like 3 to 4 years of just being in business, all leveraging that community. So, point I'm trying to say is, in their case, they leverage that conversation going on Twitter, and This is the same power that is available to any startup building anything remarkable. You can literally like build something great just leveraging community, because there are a number of things which we're going to talk of, what makes this really powerful, because you want people to be able to understand the problem that they have, and because every single product that release always goes through the awareness phase, which is more like educating the marketplace on the problem that you are trying to solve, you know. And there's nothing better as when the market is already aware of the problem, and you just marry that with just a solution. It's much of an easy ride. Like I mentioned, it saves you lots of resources, and you get real time feedback, and you are doubling down on just an existing need that people are already talking about or are already communicating. And this is very powerful. I mean, if you look at for every business that is starting out, we look at one thing. Are you ahead of the curve? Are you at the middle or behind the curve? And for Piggyvest, they were ahead of the curve. Like they just nipped it in the bud, and it, just took them to their own El Dorado. And this is a brilliant example. And the one of the things we actually need to look at, especially in looking at your company and what you're building, is, you know, in terms of like how do you leverage community. There are three ways startups can leverage community, and you have to look at your startup in one of three angles if you want to really leverage community to drive growth for your business. One is community-led startups, which primarily is which is what Piggyvest is, just startups that rolled out leveraging, buzz, just leading with the buzz already going on whatever existing channel is there. And there are community based startups, which is the product is a community, and we'll talk about that, which are just basically around engagement. Then we have community leverage startups, which are companies that they probably have the leverage, you know, community to actually grow and be who they are. I'm going to dive into examples. So you want to look from at your business, even if you're currently not, um, you know, you've not even thought about community, you can actually do that, right? You can actually look for, look to leverage a community. If you're trying to build a product, you can lead with community. What conversation is going on? Because take it or leave it, awareness is where the big money is spent for most businesses. Creating awareness of who you are, what you do, and the problem you're trying to solve. And when leveraging virality, which I mean we've talked about previously, is could save you a whole ton of cash and put you ahead of the curve. And so you want to look at your startup or whatever that you're building through that prism of, are we going to be community led? Are we going to leverage, community, and how we're doing it? How are we going to do it? Are we actually just building the community product? And so if we talk about community led startups, one is LaserPay. LaserPay is a crypto um, company that allows businesses to accept payment. Also, you Zen Finance, and if you look at these different companies, they are all very, very strong on community. They are, I mean, both the Telegram groups, the lot of engagement going on, and that also refines, what they're building and the product they're building and how it's going to transform the marketplace and offer value to that marketplace. So even before I recall, even before LaserPay was built, there was already a Telegram group engaging with them, and you could join the wait list, and the wait list also had the connection to the Telegram group where a lot of conversation is happening, and there are lots of like incentives and rewards that are promised to users. But the most important thing was like they are leading with that community engagement, and that is also you can take it back to what I mentioned about Piggyvest, leveraging all of that too as well. So these are simple things that any really startup starting out can actually do. It doesn't require so much money, but the impact is is out of the box. Next is community-based startups. One is Reddit. Reddit has um, about a little over a billion users and about 300 or so active users. It's just community. It's just basically like a platform like Facebook where it's just an enabler for you to even come there and build your own community. But Facebook in itself is like a social platform, but still leveraging community. Discord too as well. So and we're going to talk a bit about that. What is the driving force behind many of all these things, and what opportunities are available for you as a business in terms of like positioning yourself to take advantage of some of these things. Third is also community leverage startups. Now, this is quite interesting because if you go on Twitter right now and you do a search, for Elon Musk, you see him actively promoting Elon and Tesla. They boast of not actually spending a lot of money on marketing. Why is that? It's basically because Elon is always promoting what Tesla is doing, what SpaceX is doing on Twitter. Now, the same with Apple. When Apple was rolling out, when Steve Jobs came back, there was always this thing of engaging the community on what Apple is trying to do, what they're trying to shape, and just building that cult-like following for their products. It's the same thing Elon Musk does with Tesla. And Tesla has like a community of Tesla owners who basically are, they teach each other how to get the best out of the product. They engage with the product. They have communities in all across the US, in Europe, Australia, different countries, just you know, focused on product improvement and giving feedback. Even each Tesla car is wired to give feedback on, how the users are using it and things like that. The same with Apple. Apple built this cult-like following that you literally like. It's almost like a crime to hold an Android phone. I mean, you literally go to parties or wherever you even hang out, and you are sized by kind of phone you are using. If you're using an Apple, it's like, oh, you're here. If you're using an Android, all right, we can, So you can feel that thing, and all of that is all based on leveraging a community. And once you establish that community, you make it like you need to join. And there is a psychology to some of these things. And so you're looking at your startup, you may not have started with like building community, but your products can be community based. Whatever it is that you're offering, you have to look at it from a community standpoint. How can you build a community around what it is that you're offering and make it that those that are not in that community want to aspire to be part of that community because of what they're going to get out of it. You look at every single product. I mean, back in the days when Apple launched, people would sleep outside before I mean, just to get their hands on the phone. And that's to tell you how strong that community is that they can't wait to lay their hands on any of the products. And to really understand what is really coming on the scene with respect to, building, leveraging communities to drive growth for your startup, you actually need to understand the evolution of the web and what um, opportunities are going to be made available for, startups and businesses coming on the scene. And the web in itself has gone through a revolution. Everybody's talking about Web 3.0, and there's a reason behind that. Web 3.0 is all about community. Now we talk about Web 1.0 and Web 2.0, like because like from the chat you were saying like Web 1.0 was like valued at $1.1 trillion. Web 2.0, which is $5.9 trillion, and they're saying that Web 3.0 is going to be off the charts, and this is the opportunity for businesses, even companies like Facebook are making that shift to the metaverse because they understand that community is going to be a driver in the next future in the future for I mean I'm saying future but it's already now because we're seeing a lot of like businesses which are tailored to even the rise of cryptocurrencies and everything. And if you look into Web 1.0, it was basically a read-only decentralized platforms where you as a user, you just went and you just read. You never interacted. You never had anything to contribute on that platform. It was just Google, MSN, Internet Explorer, Netscape, and the rest of them. It was just like one-way traffic. Then we come to Web 2.0, which had a bit of participation from the users, and that gave birth to the rise of the social platforms, Facebook, and the rest of them. Now, Web 3.0 is now decentralized, which is there is no central, but if you look back to Facebook, where everything that you're doing has to be moderated by Facebook, but in Web 3.0 is all about the users. So, and has given rise to the blockchain technology. And I'm saying all of this to give insight to the opportunity that is going to be um, given, and the power that is going to be given to businesses and startups that are thinking community. Is going to unlock so many things. We're talking now of tokenization of things, and it's just out of this world. And you want to always like look at your startup because um you always want to stay for every business. You want to think of how relevant are you going to be in the next 2, 3, 5 years, 10 years. And these are the kind of things that unicorns actually are thinking. See, Facebook has invested like about $10 billion into the metaverse because they're thinking if they don't do that, they're going to lose out. iOS 14 has hit Facebook. Facebook knows they're already losing revenue um, on their platform because Apple users can choose not to allow Facebook to get their data. And so that is going to affect the company. And if you look at it, if you project yourself in 10 years from now, it's a threat to Facebook existence. And so when you're looking at your startup, you want to look futuristic as what are the trends that are going to be in the future, and how do you leverage it to still stay relevant? And what number one thing you want to think of is community. Community is not going anywhere. As long as there are people on the planet, you have to have a community for your startup. Whether you're launching your product or whether you're even existing as a business in itself, you need to have a community. Now, we want to talk about the basic requirements of a community. If you're thinking of like rolling out a product, you need to and you want to adopt this great fantastic idea of community, there are things you have to establish and look at it across the board. What I'm going to share with you, and I want you to just like step back a bit and look at every single community you've ever been in. You will find these core things there. And at the end of the day, consumer behavior is what powers every single market. I'm going to say that again. Consumer behavior is what powers any market. If you understand the behavior of people, and as long as that's why I said, as long as people are on the planet, there will always be new ideas and new products that's going to serve those consumers because consumer needs evolve, right? If you think about it right now, um, where if you look at your screen or your TV at home, definitely the screen came before remote controls. But and you would think that people, yeah, we're watching TV without remote control, and the remote control came out, and you can almost think, why will I need to stand up from this chair to go and change the channel? That's how interesting human needs can be. It evolves. You can really can't think. I mean, if you walk into your screen, many of the screens don't even have where you can touch. Right, everything is remote controlled, and you can't even think of you know turning on your screen without thinking of where's the remote at. That's how funny and interesting consumer behavior is, and where community now comes into play is understanding consumer behavior to give your business, your startup relevance in the next 2 3 years, because a lot of business are going to die because not because they're not great, but because they're no more relevant because the consumer needs has evolved. So I think enough of that on that. So To coming down to the requirements, that you need to actually understand the Maslow hierarchy of needs. That now tells you how to structure your community to address specific problems. So at the base, we have the psychological needs: air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction. And you can it's really interesting when you think of it. Like if you think of this psychological needs at the base, this is what some of the biggest companies you can think of have done. Think of Airbnb. Airbnb is basically just sleep, where to sleep. That's all Airbnb is about, and it's a unicorn, right? And there's so many things you can do along that line. But once you understand what are the basic fundamental needs of people, you know, and how that is going to translate to what you're building in your community, it gives you enough of a leverage. The next is safety and needs: personal security, employment, resources, health, and property. We all know of like we walk, right? Um, which was recently was funded again by A16Z, right? And we're saying like employment is a big challenge where people need to work is actually a big need that people are going to have. Love and belonging. The same thing with Facebook, sense of connection. Facebook creates that platform for connection. These are all just different companies starting out addressing very specific needs on the Maslow's law of needs. Esteem, recognition. Why do people go on LinkedIn and put, oh, I just been promoted? It's just sense of recognition, wanting to be recognized. You could build things around that. Or you can integrate some of these things into your community, self actualization to becoming better than you every day as you are. These are all the needs that you can tailor your community or your startup or weave into your startup community. So now drilling down to a number of things. Number one, every community must have a purpose. Basic requirement. What is the purpose of your community? Remember that people always want to join things that are they want to feel um, um, they're part of something that is bigger than them as a single person. So it must have a purpose. So you want to think about what is the purpose that your community represents. I'm in a group where of founders, and in that group we have the single purpose of many of the people there is to either launch a product or grow their product or access funding. That group represents all of that to these people, depending on the stage that they're in. So there is a purpose. Everybody has a purpose with why they join any spec. If you join the Red Cross, if you join now, this even has it doesn't have to even be tech. If you join anything, any group of body, even church, exactly, there is a purpose why you will go to a particular church, right? There's so many churches. There's a reason why you will stay there, and that is the single thing you must identify. What is the purpose behind your community? Next is also there's a sense of belonging. Each person must feel like they count. Their voice is heard. And in looking at what you're building, and that is one of the things that many of the great companies that you can think of Apple, there is that sense of belonging even though it can be it's engineered by the companies, but there is that sense of I have an iPhone and I matter, in that ecosystem. Same with Tesla. And if you want to you look continue to look across the board, you'll have to create that sense of belonging for that community to stay strong. There has to be that strong sense of belonging at it's not like and that is even looking at it from a political standpoint. You look at anybody running for office, there is a purpose they represent. When Obama came on the scene, it was the change that we need. That was the purpose he put, and the sense of belonging, making everybody feel part of this rebuilding of America. Even when Donald Trump came, let's make America great again. Politics always tries to do that, creating a sense of belonging for each individual party, like your vote matters. Third is that there must be value. There is now value necessarily doesn't have to even be financial. It could be emotional value, just a sense of recognition. I'm part of something. I'm making it happen, and your weaving that into your startup. There must be even as simple as some information that you're passing across. Like if you join groups where people trade even in cryptocurrencies, the and like just where letting you know what coins are climbing, that is valid. That's why certain people stay in specific groups. So identifying what is value to the people that you're serving is actually critical for even any community. So first, like I said, purpose, defining what is the purpose in this group. Secondly, is the sense of belonging. How do you make everybody feel part of it? Because if people don't feel part of it, they leave, and that cheats your community, and you don't eventually get to maximize it, the value. What is valuable enough to make the people on that platform even stay hooked? And this is the power that, if you look at any big company, Apple, Tesla, and the rest of them, value. There is value, and that's the reason why people stay with products. Now let's talk about building your community. I'm going to run through what I call the 7 P's to building your community. I'm going to walk through them, and it's to guide your thought process in terms of like what you should be doing in terms of like building out your minimum viable community, whether you have a product or you're yet to have a product, what you should be thinking about, and how to integrate that into your your startup. First is the problem. every I believe every founder, most founders know the problem that they're trying to address. The problem is actually the good starting point, right? Understanding specifically, which is where I mean the community, building the community, it has to be built around the specific problem. Now, a problem doesn't necessarily have to be all that bad. It could be an emotional problem, right? I mean, it could be psychological. It could be in some cases financial too. But like I mentioned, I'm in the laser pay group, Telegram group. I'm also in the Zen Finance Telegram group. And there's a problem they're trying to address. And that's the reason why anybody would join those communities in the first place. So you have to start with the problem, right? The next is the people. Who are the people that have the problem? Now, this now means because identifying these people will be what I would call, if you're yet to build a product, they will be like your early adopters, so to speak. And so understanding what are the people that have this problem that you want to build a community around, now creating like personas of these different people, and then engaging them or bringing them into your community. Third is also the platform. What platform are you going to use? And like there's so many platforms, like I mentioned previously, of Discord, Reddit, even WhatsApp, Telegram. What platform do you want to use to create that community? You could create a community from scratch. That's if you are a Reddit or if you are a Facebook, but or you can leverage already existing platforms, because many of these social platforms allow you to create groups, create communities, and engage with them. So what platform are you going to use? And that has to tie into what form of like conversation is going to be happening on the platform. Third is participation. How do you um, get the people to participate and be engaged? Like I told you, of the WhatsApp group I'm in, where founders telling founders what is happening, what they're going through, and the same thing goes for even any particular group, churches too as well. So these are things we already experienced, but we never really looked at it from a scientific standpoint. And when I mean scientific, like how you can reverse engineer the psychology behind it and to leverage it in your startup as well. So even if you could look at churches, how do you participate? Are there programs that happen? Participation could mean if you're part of a church, come there every Sunday, right? Or you could come there weekdays. So if someone is not coming to church, you don't see them for 3 Sundays. Hey, what's up? What's going on? And that is the same thing that applies to any community you want to really start or build around your product, defining what participation should be. Next is also the policy. Policy in the terms of what is the mode of conduct, what should be acceptable behavior, what should be unacceptable behavior. Establishing that helps to guide and put the group in perspective, because not establishing the policy, so to speak, in your startup could cause a friction. It could hurt the sense of belonging of the people that should engage with your product. So it's needed to critically look at what you define as that to make it feel safe, to protect the interest of every single person in that community. Now, if you look at, like, for instance, like Apple policy, one of the policies they have is they don't share users' data. And if you recall, there was the case that came up where the FBI asked Apple to unlock the phone to access specific information on a case they were working on, and Apple declined. So that is their policy of how they're going to, you know, establish relationship with their users, and the users want to know upfront that you're going to keep to your promise. Six is promotion. How are you going to promote your community, right? And promotion is could be, like I said, you could have a group on Facebook and publicize it on Facebook to join the community, telling people this is what our group represents and this is what our group doesn't represent. Those that are for or against the motion, you know, can join. So you promotion could be, how are you going to push word out there? And for many communities, it's always word of mouth. People telling people, and that's the kind of behavior you want if you're going to build a product into that. You want people to understand that we grow when you tell people or other people that fit the profile about it. So I join a community. I understand, if I'm in a community for Weight Watchers, I know every single person that is in that group is looking at that specific purpose. And when I meet somebody or engage another person, hey, I'm in part of this group. You want to join? It's all about people that want to lose weight. So you look at your startups from that standpoint of leveraging word of mouth, people telling people. Next is also performance, the last P. How do you what are the KPIs, the metrics that you're looking at in terms of letting you know how your community is thriving, how it is growing, right? Companies like Facebook, they have monthly active users. That may not be the KPI you want to look at, but you want to look at engagement. So if someone came to the group and they're at a specific stage, um, what should be the transformational promise that the group is promising, and where should they be after engaging, being a member of the group? Most people drop off when they don't get what they want out of the group, and most um, um, people that have this community don't even have metrics to ensure that everybody is moving in the direction that benefits all parties concerned. And this is these are the seven core things you want to look at in building your community. First, the problem. Second, the people. Third, the platform you're using. Fourth, the participation. How are they engaging? The policy also involved in on the community. What are in terms of like engagement and promotion, how you promoting it, and last is the performance. So if you follow these basic steps, like I use Piggyvest as an example, you'll be able to launch almost anything. It puts power in your hands, and not just because you want to use it in a selfish way, but because the people that you're serving are also benefiting from it. So that's I've come to the end, and you can join our WhatsApp chat if you want to stay connected with us and get access to more of this great content in the future. All right. So thank you.